Today we are more obsessed by hustle culture or any type of drama, and any element of stability is deemed as boring. The world is full of extremes, and in a world where we are measured by productivity, boredom almost seems like a sin. Not to mention the constant stimuli that is around us every day. Email, ads, social media, robbing us of our attention. But ironically, sometimes sitting back and just doing nothing is exactly what you need to do in order to move forward. And even when we're talking amongst friends, we're indirectly trying to portray the most exciting bits of what we've done during that week. I mean, we're kind of saying, look at me, look at all the exciting things that I've done. And when we're doing this, it's because we don't want to appear boring. And I think sometimes excitement is not all what it's cracked up to be, because sometimes all that excitement is very close to just being noise and fluff. Noise that serves no purpose, no desire, or any type of fulfillment. Because when I think about it, an exciting life, it's hard to maintain. When something is good and exciting, it kind of hits this like peak, and from there you have nowhere to go. You can't go any bigger than what you've just done. It rarely creates long-term satisfaction. And you've probably heard this narrative to varying degrees. And the author Mark Manson talks about how when he reached success at a young age, he reached it on the highest possible level. His first book literally was a New York Times bestseller. In the grand scheme of things, nothing else could beat it. And then he talks about how his second book, to any author, those numbers would have been amazing. It would have been a roaring success. But for him, it was in the shadow of his first book. And I think generally sometimes people suffer from this little trap of things not being enough. We are indirectly seeking more, and more sometimes doesn't always necessarily mean that it's better for us. More makes our lives messy and unnecessarily complicated. So here's the first principle to living a boring life. You master the fundamentals. The author James Clear talks about building solid foundations, which means doing things that people aren't often willing to do. I mean, it's easy to go to the gym for the first week of Jan, but consistently over a few months, that's another story. Can you handle the boredom of training every day, doing the same lifts over and over again? Because being a beginner in a new skill is hard, because we often feel overwhelmed because we have a lot to learn, especially if we haven't broken it down into skills and sub-skills. It can seem like we're trying to climb Mount Everest without any gear. It's easy to be engaged with something that's new and exciting. What will determine your success? It's the ability to stick with things. Most people want the shortcut to the finish line, because one thing I realized, things that happen super quickly, like the crypto craze, can dissipate just as quickly as it appeared. During 2020, everyone seemed to be an expert at buying stocks. But anyone who's mastered the basics knows that you buy low and sell high. Because for the people that were buying at this time, they weren't analyzing the stock. They weren't thinking of it as a long-term investment. There was no strategy. All they saw was that upward trajectory. And as we've seen, a lot of people lost out. And it's funny because when you think about it, it's easy to tell people that hot new stock rather than say, I'm going to focus on the basics. So whether that's studying Spanish, writing, exercising, or video editing, the things that I must do is things that I'm fully committed to. I'd even go as far as to saying that I actually dedicate full days to certain tasks. And for me, this just makes the objective clearer, whether it's a spending time with family day or video editing day, because sometimes it's easy for tasks to start to compete with each other. And then also, once you finish one task, getting into the flow of another task is a task in itself, and you have to kind of mentally shut yourself off. And when you're focused on one task, you're more likely to enter that state of flow that everyone's talking about. Because don't you just love it when you're working for 2 hours and it feels like 5 minutes? I'm also boring sometimes when it comes to spending, and very minimal, because it's easy to get caught up into this consumerism lifestyle. Because when you buy something that you don't necessarily need, you feel good for a minute or two, but it never provides that sense of long-lasting satisfaction. And I've definitely found a new sense of freedom by not being or feeling the need to buy certain pieces of clothing or any type of material things, because that need to buy something, sometimes it's so powerful. Certain people spend all day looking at items online, going in stores that they're going to buy one day. I even go so far as to, if I like something, I make a list. I put it on that list and I sit on it. And I wait a few months and wait if I actually really still want that item. Because more than likely I'm buying it based on impulse and emotion. You need to remember there will always be things for you to buy. There will never be a moment in the world where no one is wanting you to buy something. So I embrace a boring life when it comes to my spending also. And this is probably the best thing about living a boring life. You do the same thing day in and day out. Yes, you heard me right. Day in and day out. Because those actions compound over time. Me going to the gym every day makes me slightly stronger. Me practicing Spanish on a consistent schedule makes me a little bit more proficient. Me posting regularly to this channel hopefully will get me more views. Everything good or bad compounds, and it's the principle of incremental growth that is so powerful. When consistently executed, can lead to monumental successes. You see, the greatest threat to results is impatience. Most people get frustrated and bored. This is dollar cost averaging by definition. Similar to stock market trading, people know when they execute on a consistent basis, on a long enough timeline, you will generate wealth. But that cryptocurrency sounds so exciting, doesn't it? It will give a bigger return, a bigger thrill, and that thrill sucks you straight in. But if you can tap into that boredom and do what you're meant to do, because you can't fast forward the natural pace of things. I like to follow travel Instagram accounts from time to time. I think it's a great analogy because on the face of it, it looks exciting. You see all the fancy places they go to, you see the beautiful places from location to location, but you don't see the hours of research that they've put into finding that place. You don't see them taking multiple shots of trying to get that perfect photo. You don't see them traveling in between the locations, traveling from plane to plane, maybe even missing some flights or having trouble in departure. You see the finished product, which is nice. And this is the same for most individuals. We just see what is on the surface. We don't necessarily see the boring actions, the fundamentals, the time that has been taken to master what needs to be done. Anyways, guys, good luck with living your boring life. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please smash the like button, comment below if you have anything to say. We're looking forward to comments, and I'll see you guys in another one. Bye-bye.